we tend to pass things off on that guy's a genetic freak or that guy's on steroids, and then that means for you that you don't have to work hard.
On point, clean food, 6 days out of the week. On Sunday, I eat whatever I want, as much as I want, and over time, I still lost weight. I still got lean.
So for you, with your size and your maturity already, even though you're still young, to grow, you don't necessarily need to power lift, in my opinion, and you don't necessarily need to like hone in so deeply on strength. But you kind of like doing that, so that's an important factor. However, there's a lot of people listening and watching that weigh 160 and they're 6 feet tall, or they weigh 150 and they're 5'10" or whatever, 5'9". They want to be bigger, and they also want to be stronger. So sometimes they might hear from an older guy like me or somebody that's been in the game for a long time, oh, don't worry about the heavy weights. Bodybuilding's not really about heavy weights. But at the same time, that younger guy is frustrated because he doesn't have hardly any strength.
Right.
Like he is struggling to squat 185.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to make fun of anybody's strength, but that's kind of where you're at in the beginning. And I think that for some of those guys, it's a good idea to put some emphasis on strength so that over time they can have what I would consider like a checklist of strength. Like if you're trying to be a bodybuilder and trying to have big legs, I would say getting yourself to a close to like a double body weight squat would really be like a reasonable thing to have as a goal. Maybe your first goal is to squat your own body weight. Maybe after that it's 1.5. Maybe after that it's 2. And then once you kind of got to being able to do double body weight, maybe even for a couple reps, you can kind of check that off your list. You don't have to worry about it as much.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think, because, when I was like 170 something, 180 pounds, super skinny, not that tall. And I think I was researching some stuff, and I knew that, I didn't have to go heavy necessarily. I didn't have to do powerlifting movements and progress in that way. But I did have goals, like you said, and I just wanted to be stronger. But I knew, based off what I was reading, it was telling me, like, okay, well, whatever the purpose of the phase is, like, I would just break down in phases so I didn't get overwhelmed and get stressed out about, I'm not strong. I knew that if I took the time to do the bodybuilding movements, I didn't really focus on strength too much, that more muscle mass would leave me more room for strength gains when I go back to those movements and try them out. So that, just being patient, knowing that even if you're doing the bodybuilding training, you don't feel the strongest, it's gonna pay off for something. Getting more jacked with more hypertrophy training isn't gonna make your bench squat or deadlift weaker. So knowing that, and then also, but I do understand that you wanna be strong, you wanna see, progression in certain lifts. I know I still do. And it's just different. I feel like the feeling it gives you, the mindset, the challenge, and also just, I don't know if the whole density argument with like heavy weights and stuff, I don't know, but I do know that I feel different, and I felt like I looked a lot different when I did take time to focus on progressing those harder lifts, the more compound style lifts, rather than going in and doing a jabroni workout where it's like start with cable flies, then do curls, then do triceps, and it's all kind of like fluffy type of work, like all cable stuff.
It's like fluff and pump. Like it's not good enough.
Yeah. It's a little gay. So I think doing the hard shit, there's tons of benefits. And that's how I trained since I was like 15. I would always squat, bench, deadlift, or do some version, front squat, Zercher squat, anything that requires I'm using a barbell that is hard, loads my spine in some way, or, heavy RDLs. Maybe I might not do deadlifts, but I might do heavy RDLs or power rows where I'm like, I forgot what they were called, but it's just cheat rows. Something that's hard with a barbell. I have to brace.
That's a really good example right there of a bent over row with momentum. Kaylor Woolham used them.
Oh, yeah.
Kaylor Woolham deadlifted over 900 pounds. One of the most explosive deadlifters I've ever seen. And there's a lot of other athletes that have utilized a bent over row. Some people like to do them more strict. But I guess what I'm trying to say and communicate is that sometimes you're so new and you're just not very strong. So like your bent over row strict is with a 10 on each side.
Yeah.
And you're like, and you're listening to Kai Green saying, I'm not a weightlifter. I'm not a weightlifter. And he said, but it's like, dude, I've seen you on the incline with 315 and 405, handling it so smoothly and effortlessly.
Yeah.
And so as a young athlete, when you see that, or somebody might say, hey man, somebody like myself might say, hey man, don't really worry about the abs. Don't worry about getting lean. And meanwhile, I'm doing well in terms of being lean, but I'm telling you not to worry about it, and you're 20% body fat, and you feel like you're so far behind. So then what do you go out and do? You go out and you try to do a lot of intermittent fasting. You're trying to starve yourself, and you're not giving yourself, which we mentioned many times so far on this show, you're not giving yourself the ingredients, the rest, the nutrients, both macronutrients, micronutrients. You're not giving yourself the ingredients necessary to grow. So it's like you get these mixed messages back and forth, and you're like, this guy or girl's telling me about focus on lifting for performance and you'll get lean. But this other guy is telling me that abs are made in the kitchen. And this other guy is telling me I should relax on the amount of weight that I use when I'm trying to do some of these main movements, but I'm really fucking weak.
Yeah.
It's like you get a lot of anxiety almost about which way you should lift, because you feel like, not only do you feel like you got some holes in your game, you feel like your entire game is Swiss cheese.
Yeah.
It's only made out of holes.
Yes, I agree with that. And I went through all of this. I literally
I've been
tried.
there too.
Yeah, I literally tried everything. So the people listening, I'm still in the middle of it. I'm still learning, but just
sneak in a set of legs while
be
you're
patient. It's going to take time. You're going to fuck up a million times. I tried everything. I heard the abs are made in the kitchen, so I did everything was low carb. Everything was super clean, tracked, and I got small and made no progress for about a year. Then I tried a dirty bulk, put on a lot of size, but got a little fluffy. And I've tried, when I was, 2 years ago, each week was different. 1 week I was a power lifter, then I wanted to try strongman, then I wanted to be a bodybuilder, and every single week it was different. So I know people are going to say follow some type of structure, but at least for me, I have a little bit of ADHD. Every single week it was something different. So even if that's the case, be patient, just enjoy the process, train hard no matter what you decide to do. But yeah, there's going to be a ton of things you're going to try. And to me, that's so far been the best part of all of this, is that beginning stage where I was trying stuff before I was even researching it or knowing.
Most exciting time of your life.
Yes.
Like
That's
literally,
the best
right?
part of lifting is the beginning. That's what I try to tell people that are in that part of it.
My God, I wish I could have some of that back. It was beautiful.
Yes.
It really was. I'm not even joking.
It's sensational. It's amazing. That part is by far, I don't think.
You'll never have that again. You'll never have that same growth period like that.
No.
Mentally, physically.
Yeah, it's just amazing.
Strength-wise, physique-wise.
Yeah. So that's the time to try stuff, because no matter what, you're going to make progress as long as you, like Mark said, feed yourself, just eat enough to recover from the workouts, train hard, get your water in, get your sleep, and no matter what, even if you fuck up or change your split every other week, you're still going to make progress. So just be patient. But that is the best part of the whole entire process.
It's really tough because you see, like, Larry Wheels comes to mind. And I always am. Larry Wheels is such an amazing athlete. He doesn't really even get credit for being an athlete. And he should, because I think he's one of the most amazing athletes of our time, period. Not strength athlete, not bodybuilder.
Yeah.
What that guy has done is it's just so ridiculous. But it's hard to put in perspective because you're like, he power lifts, then he'll bodybuild, and then he's training with Hafthor Bjornsson.
Yep.
And he's lifting like 300-pound stones. He's deadlifting 900 pounds for reps. He's benching, I think I saw him bench 675.
Yep. Yeah.
Like that's near world record bench strength for his body weight. And you're like, and he had world records in powerlifting, all-time world records.
Yeah.
He didn't even powerlift for that long. So I'm thinking to myself, I see the guy do these tricks on social media, and I'm like, when does he have time to train for these things?
Yeah.
Because even for me, if I was to train, even let's say for like my bench strength is nowhere near where it used to be. Let's say I wanted to train for a 455 bench press. I would need like 6 months.
Yeah.
That guy will like come out of nowhere. He'll bench 675, lift a 300-pound stone. It doesn't seem like there's any time in between.
Yeah.
And so I think the young people that watch all that stuff and they see Bradley Martin and there's a bunch of other guys that are lifting extraordinary things or jumping over cars and doing some really cool stuff, and they're like, I want to be doing that. But there's got to be a period of time where you're off camera, because there was many years where Larry Wheels wasn't on camera. There was many years where a lot of these guys that we're thinking are doing amazing things, they were training hard long before social media. And some of them, I guess, grew up with social media. Larry Wheels would be maybe an example of that. But when Stan met Larry Wheels was still deadlifting like 650. So he wasn't a chump,
Yeah.
even like at 15, 16.
Yeah, I think Larry Wheels is a good example of, because I was watching a lot of him, especially in high school, and I thought I was going to be the next Larry Wheels. But I think knowing what you're not is super important, and I'm using him as an example now, because back then I would, I'd see him just do heavy squats, and he had a chest out to here, traps up to his ears, and I'm like, I could just train like that, and I'm gonna get jacked over time. But for most people, like I said, you're gonna need to break these things up in phases with certain goals, which with each phase. So like for me, I tried I watched what Larry Wheels was doing. I watched what Super Training was doing, and all I saw was really main movements and getting super strong and eating enough food, and that's what I did, and I ended up getting fat. So then I'm like, all right, this is not working. Clearly, not everybody can do this.
Everyone
a genetic
blames
freak.
their fatness on super training.
Yeah, so then I quickly learned, like, okay, maybe I should take some time to lay off the heavy lifts, still implement them here and there, but maybe take some time to do some bodybuilding training, eat like a bodybuilder, and then I started to shape up. My structure started to really, like, grow on me, I guess. I started to see progress in my physique, and then I went back to the heavy lifts, and I just kept going back and forth because I knew what I was going to get out of each phase. But I think knowing that, all right, there's people that you're going to look up to that can do whatever I'm sure Larry Wheels could never do any hypertrophy again and just lift heavy and look absolutely jacked for the rest of his life. But I don't feel like I can do that, so I'm not going to do that.
It's interesting. I was watching a video of our boy Stan, and he was doing some heavy legs. And we know how strong Stan's legs are, but that's been an area that's been difficult for him to really build over the years. And I'm watching him. He's doing like this kind of hack squat type of thing. And I'm thinking, like, how interesting, because like all the information that we know about hypertrophy, Stan obviously follows all those protocols. Stan is obviously fucking jacked. He looks absolutely amazing. He's in his 50s, so maybe hypertrophy isn't going to be as beneficial, or maybe not as beneficial, but maybe it's harder for him to gain muscle as you get older. But it's interesting how his upper body stays so big and the lower body still is hard to respond. And that is part of knowing who you are and knowing who you're not. There's really, at this point, it doesn't seem like there's much that he can do to make his legs match how big, especially like in the calves.
Yeah.
You see, that's a kind of a genetic thing for a lot of people. And I don't like to use genetics as a limitation, because then people tend to say, oh, that guy's a genetic freak. Like, we tend to pass things off on that guy's a genetic freak or that guy's on steroids, and then that means for you that you don't have to work hard. But the guy that's on steroids, that's further ahead, and the guy that's a genetic freak, both guys are probably working as hard as they need to get to the spot that they're in. And that's what's going to be important for you too, is to find your comfort level with how hard you want to work in relation to how much of a price do you want to pay, how much pain do you want to go through. For me, for lifting nowadays, to be totally honest, I don't want that much pain. I want some of the results, and I want some of the pain.
Yeah.
But I'm not willing to, like, I've been doing it for so long, and I do it so consistently along with the stuff I'm doing for running, where I'm like, I'm good. You'll see when we're training. His training's going to be different than mine. He'll be at a 9, an 8, 9, 10. I'll be at between a 6 and an 8. And I like to stay there because I like to kind of manage the overall amount of stress that I'm taking in. And my desires and my goals and stuff aren't the same as they used to be. Where are we going to start for today?
Well, I wrote a workout down.
Oh.
And,
We're going to be podcasting and lifting simultaneously.
Yep. Well, I wanted to do the main movement, which we can either place first and explain why we'd place it first, or we can pre-fatigue, put blood in the rear delts, lateral delts, front delts, and then go to the heavy pressing. But I wanted to do a barbell dead stop press.
Nice.
So I can go pretty heavy on that and blow the shoulders up. But I had written down, I had a superset, kind of like maybe like a winning warm-up, but really just like a Milos giant set of shake strap, single arm extensions, overhead, and then where we put the shake strap. And
the rack press is going to be a tricep movement, right? Or is it an overhead?
I was going to say overhead, but we could do
either
bench too. That'd be fun.
Mm-hmm.
We'll just see where the pump takes us.
See where the pump takes us. I like that.
I saw this on Instagram where you put it like right by your cock area instead of super low or super high. And you just kind of, your pinky's like flared. You just kind of.
Yeah, it looks like it keeps more tension on there.
Yeah. So maybe like this, we could do shake strap extensions, superset with overhead, lateral raises, and then go into the bench or overhead press.
That sounds good to me.
Something special. Fun fact, I was listening to a podcast. Did you know that Jay Cutler was eating the same amount of food as Brian Shaw in his off season?
Wow.
Yes, I heard that on his podcast today. That's insane. And it was all clean food. And Brian Shaw's eating meatballs and Subway and bullshit.
Wild.
Imagine how much food that is.
Triceps, shoulders.
And whatever else. We could do anything. Triceps, shoulders, tibs.
How about we do this, and we'll do the lateral raise in between, and then we'll switch to some rear delt, and then we'll do the main movement.
Yes.
So sometimes you're best off starting with the main movement so you can conserve all the energy. But in this case, our main movement for today is going to be a shoulder press. And a dead stop shoulder press out of the squat rack is pretty demanding and kind of jarring. So in my opinion, this will be better because it's a good idea to get really warm. In some cases on something like you want to increase your deadlift, your best option might be to mainly deadlift and to warm up that way. Get your lower back ready, maybe with a few sets of like a 45-degree back raise or something, and then just get right into deadlifting and conserve energy for more of the strength stuff. But I think this is a good call for today by Kenny to start out with some of this ancillary work to get all these kind of smaller muscles warm before we start doing the heavy overhead press. Yeah, this does feel good. It feels good to use a shake strap and not have to hold on to anything.
Yeah, you can mess around with where you put the pressure, like, I don't know, my fingers. Like with that, I'm focusing on flaring my pinky and then raising. I feel more tension on my delt. But if you're gripping something, you're going to have more forearms engaged. And then you get a forearm pump and you're trying to hit shoulders and your forearms get super jacked and your shoulders are small. And it sucks. Shake strap. I've tried both ways where you put the main movement, like Mark was saying in the very beginning. Most of the time I do that for my strength, strength training. Like when I was powerlifting, we'd still do some of this stuff, like a winning warm-up, or maybe if we're doing deadlifts, I might do some back extensions and some hamstring curls.
Yeah, if you're not super fat and you're in decent shape, like this shouldn't wreck you before your main exercises.
Yeah. But for bodybuilding training, I'm not a scientist. If anybody knows whether or not you place the main movement like this, like today's overhead press, if we placed this very first, like didn't do any of this, just warmed up somehow, banded stuff, then went into the movement, or if we do it like we're doing it right now, where we do 3 exercises, then go to the movement, whether or not it causes more hypertrophy, I don't know. Maybe I might be a tad bit stronger if I placed it at the very beginning, but then who knows, because my muscles might not be firing the right way, and I might.
But if you really felt like something was a weakness, and you had to really work on, like, say, a stiff leg deadlift, then you'd probably just do that first.
Yeah.
But another way to look at it is, it shouldn't really hurt anything if you did 3 sets of leg curls beforehand. I know Kenny is working on increasing his triceps, so you're working on your triceps almost every workout, right?
Yep. Every workout. They're not growing.
So it kind of depends. You know, you'll hear different people say a lot of different things, but I think using intuition, I think, is important. You're going to see on these exercises, we're using a little bit more rep range. As I'm warming up on these, I'm leaving, you know, some reps in reserve for that main movement. But there's so many different ways to do all this stuff. I think the main thing is to try to keep it fun and try to keep it a little different. And so unless you're really hyper-focused on moving the strength, you know, up on a particular movement, you know, if that's not the main goal, like you're not powerlifting, you're not only worried about increasing that bench press, then I don't think it hurts to do some other movements first. If you are powerlifting, you still might want to do other movements first, but you might want those movements to have almost next to nothing to do with the movement that you're going to do. You don't want any interference, basically. So if you're a powerlifter and your hamstrings were a weakness, on a bench day, you might do 45-degree back raise and leg curls before you start your bench workout in order to increase the strength of the hamstrings, but it's not anything that's going to really interfere or take away from your main movement being like something like a bench press. And I think in today's case, we'll probably get into some rep ranges that are a little bit lower when we do the barbell movement.
Yeah, since the last podcast we did where we talked about kind of matching, this might be off topic, but matching my recovery, or like, you know, matching everything outside the gym with what you're doing inside the gym. So my recovery has been shit lately, so this is just an update for nobody cares, but I'm gonna give it to you anyways. Started doing a little bit more straight sets where I'm not going all the way to failure. Like right now, I'm keeping a rep range in my head of like 15 to 20, rather than just going till I can't move anymore. I find that I'm not able to recover too well, and I end up feeling like I'm smaller. So I switched that up, and I feel a lot fuller now.
Yeah, some of what you do in a workout, I don't think you need to get caught up in having every single movement that you do and every single rep that you do having so much purpose, but at the same time, if things are done kind of for no reason, they still register on the body and they still consume some energy. So if you're just doing like what I would call like garbage sets, if it's not really purposeful, then you might want to chop some of those things out because it could be cutting into your recovery.
Yeah, definitely was cutting into mine.
And part of what we're doing here, especially because some of this is still in the realm of more bodybuilding, is you're just trying to chase a pump. So this, we're getting blood into the area, and then once we start that main movement, we're going to try to stay on top of that pump for the rest of the workout, which is actually pretty challenging and pretty hard to do. Sometimes the pump tends to come and go, and it's super annoying.
Yeah.
You want to do what? Seated overhead? Is that how we're going to do it?
Oh, yeah.
I don't even know if I've ever done that before.
Or we could just do regular.
Like a dumbbell?
Either works.
It'll be a lot faster just because,
Yeah.
I mean, you just grab a dumbbell.
Fuck it.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Got a little carried away today's workout in my brain in the warehouse.
Maybe we'll do the overhead press. Maybe we can do a real delt in between or something.
Yep. Intro workout is real interesting today. Hydration pack mixed with organic beet and orange juice.
Beets?
Yep. Gives a great pump. Natural pump product. Going into the workout, I just keep a couple things in mind. That I'm well hydrated. I'll have at least 1 to 2 hydration packs. 2 might be a little too much for some people, but I like to overdo it sometimes. At least have 2 meals in me before I train. I just feel like I don't like to train fasted. I feel a little bit flat, especially for bodybuilding. And training like this, I'll tend to crash and my pump will go away quick. So I make sure I have at least 2 meals in me. 1 heavy on carbs, which is pre-workout. Hydrate, drink lots of liquid, sodium, and that's about it. The meal timing is kind of important. I make sure I eat. I like to eat closer to the workout, like maybe I ate like an hour ago. So my stomach can handle that. Some people have to wait 2 hours. If you have a meal with a lot of fats, you might have to wait a little bit longer, but mine has no fat, so after an hour, I'm ready to go. That's a nifty issue. Yeah, so that's how I maximize my odds of getting a good pump. Sometimes you could do everything right and it still goes wrong. That happens to me a lot. And it could just come down to something else like sleep or, stress, or maybe you have a nagging injury. It could be anything else. But for the most part, no matter what, those are the basics. Those are my staples that usually, if I get those dialed in for the day, I can get a decent pump. And we'll check it after this. I got a nice tank top on. It's a real nifty issue.
So I ran before I got here today. And post-workout, I had, kind of just depends on the day, but like for today I had a Rice Krispie treat, a banana, and then half of like this weird bar that I have. Just trying to basically get some sugar in me and some aminos. Normally I don't do that because I don't always lift right after I run, but in today's case I am lifting, so I felt like I could use the glycogen boost. And then in my intra workout for today, there's electrolytes and there's cyclic dextrins in there. So I think it's important. Otherwise, come in and lift. It's just you lift and you don't really feel anything. You kind of almost feel numb. You feel like you're not getting much of a response. So
that's the worst feeling.
Yeah, you just get some sort of nutrients in you. If all you can do is eat a meal or all you can do is have a protein shake, all those things are fine. But probably a fast or simple carbohydrate source, some Gatorade.
Yep.
Stop at a gas station, maybe get a Quest bar and a Gatorade, and like that's a decent way of doing it.
Yeah.
Maybe a piece of fruit.
That's why I don't stress about this. I didn't have any intra-workout powder, so I opted for some juice. Some all-natural juice, organic. Put some salt in it. Intra-workout. I know this is not going to make me fat because of how intense we're training.
What can make people fat, so they know that the truth about like what can
make you fat is like we talked about before, the mixture of too many carbs and fat. So this has no fat in it. So I'm breaking down my muscle, I'm breaking down glycogen, I'm filling it back up, staying full with carbs and hydration pack. So if I had fats in here, it wouldn't digest as quick. It would sit in my stomach, and then that is when I feel like, I'd be more prone to gaining some fat. Because when I drink this, I don't feel anything in my stomach. I don't want to say it goes straight to the muscle, because I don't know how that works technically, but that's what it feels like. It feels like I'm training shoulders, I'm breaking them down, I'm drinking carbs, and my shoulders are staying pumped.
Yep.
So do what you want with that information, but I do feel like if I had fats in here, like if someone were to drink a smoothie or something with dairy or something in it, intra-workout, that would
be kind of slow, kind of sit in your
be the
stomach.
best option, yeah.
You want the heavier one, or is that one a good to start, you think?
I think this is good.
Like I'm trying to reach for it. So the key thing to keep in mind, the overarching theme, is that nothing really makes you fat. There's not a food that you can eat on this planet invented by mankind or brought to you by Mother Nature that can make you fat. The only thing that can make you fat over time is overeating. And you overeat repeatedly, day in and day out, without enough activity, and that will add body fat to your body. So even if we did have fats during the workout, it wouldn't necessarily make us fat, but it might make you kind of feel fat. Does it make you feel sluggish?
Yep.
And make you feel kind of gross. And so you want faster acting energy before and during workouts. And even after workouts. A lot of people say before, during, and after workouts, a really good time period, mainly for carbohydrates, maybe some protein, maybe some aminos, but keep the fats really low. And then maybe morning and night, depending on your particular diet, you can kind of select out what else you need in those other meals.
Yep, I would agree with that. For digestion purposes, I just stay away from fat intra-workout, but I'm sure you could do it. All right, overhead press. Oh yeah.
Something else to keep in mind too is a lot of people will tell you what you can and can't do. A lot of people will tell you that you can't do jujitsu and get big and strength train. You're going to lose all your strength. You're not going to get good at jujitsu if you lift too much because you're muscle bound. You're not going to. You're not going to be able to maintain muscle mass if you run. People are going to tell you all kinds of stuff, but you really don't know until you actually try, until you actually start doing stuff. And I think before I came here today, I must have ran at least 6 or 7 miles. And had I not run, or if I didn't run at all and I just went on a walk, I would definitely feel better. The lifting would be easier. But there's an adaptation period. I'm used to running now, and now my VO2 max has increased by about 30% or so over the last several months. And now that that's increased, everything's just easier for me. So I can lift and run and do all these things and recover from them just fine. I feel leaner than I've ever been.
Oh, yeah.
I woke up yesterday at 217. I was 219 this morning. This is pretty much the lightest I've ever been.
Look at the arms.
And yeah, just gonna keep getting leaner and just keep proving myself right and proving what other people think is wrong.
Fuck the haters. Yeah, I agree. And remember, trying is the best part. Trying. Failing is I've had the most fun doing that. Not as experienced as Mark, but even the stuff I have tried, when people said maybe it's not the best idea, usually when people tell me that, the first thing I do is lean into it because I want to see if I can actually, prove that to myself that I can do this. And if I fail, then I'll just learn from it. Nice.
I'm not as I was in here yesterday training, and veins are decent and stuff, but they're not as crazy as they normally are. That's just because I'm a little flat from running. But this is just, everything is temporary. Some days you wake up, you look in the mirror, no matter what you look like, no matter what's underneath, no matter how good or bad or indifferent it looks, I could think that this looks horrible because you can sometimes you feel flat or you feel fat,
Yeah.
whatever it might be, and maybe you actually are in the process of kind of working on the whole thing. But just recognize everything is just like temporary. Like I'm not this lean just because I have to work at it all the time. Even something like in acquiring wealth. People say, "Oh, you're rich." I'm not really. I have a lot of money, and I have a lot of things. But the only way to be rich is to stay rich. The only way to be lean is to stay lean. The only way to be big is to stay big.
That's true.
You can lose that muscle mass. You can go from where you are right now. If you didn't work out for 3 months, and you just rested and didn't do shit, you're still gonna look amazing. But for you, you're gonna feel awful. You're not gonna have like all these gains, all these things that you work for every single day. I'm not saying they would all run away, of course. You're gonna keep a lot of it.
Yeah.
But you'll lose a lot of it. You have to work at it consistently and constantly.
Yeah, and I think that feeling he's talking about, I feel that every day. That is, I mean, maybe it might be a little bit worse in your head, but for the most part, it is a feeling. Obviously, if I stop working out, I get a little smaller. But the feeling he's talking about, where just in your body, in the muscle, that flat, weak feeling you get, where you feel like you're disintegrating, or body dysmorphia, it's all just a feeling. So that is literally the worst part.
It's just feeling, it's a moment, yeah.
Yeah, it's the worst part. So that's why, even if somebody told me you can never make gains again, yes, I would be depressed, but I would still work out because I'm going to try to avoid that feeling that we're talking about as much as possible, because it is terrible. Triceps.
There's a lot of different ways to do these triceps. You can kind of hang your arms way off the back and kind of push through here like this. You could move your elbows around too a lot, so I can throw my elbows towards my chest. Like I don't see any problem with doing some of these with a little momentum. And actually what you'll find is sometimes people are like, "Oh, you're activating your lats." It's like, that sounds good to me. I'm activating more muscle tissue. Sounds pretty dope. And then plus what you'll also notice is that you do these super strict and you do an old school skull crusher and you isolate. It's like, man, that's a lot on the elbows. That might have its benefits for particular reasons, but I don't really want it to hurt my joints. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to throw the weight up a little bit and use some momentum. Now I have zero pain in my elbow, but some still pretty good tricep activation.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not a big fan, really, of isolation, to be honest.
Yeah. I was going to say.
I think it has its place.
Oh, shredded.
You want me to handle that heavier weight to you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was going to say earlier, I feel like in the beginning of me lifting, I took the time to do all the movements that require me to, use the or just movements that require me to force some stability and be stable through my core, my lower back, my posterior chain. And I feel like that has allowed me to change movements like this, like maybe you're swinging it more, but I'm also thinking about like keeping my lats tight to control it down a little bit still, and then maybe swinging it forward, doing stuff like that. Those movements help me create tightness.
There you go. The big thing that I think is important is that you do stuff that makes you feel good about yourself. And so challenge yourself in the gym, challenge yourself with your diet. Like something so simple as making it through 5 days of 10 out of 10 nutrition.
That feels like a long time.
Try it.
Yeah.
Like I challenge you to try it. Try to be a 10 out of 10 Monday through Friday. I mean, probably wheels probably fall off if you do make it that far with a 10 out of 10. And that could be problematic sometimes for some people. And that's why you might want to have some little snacks or little treats in between so you don't go haywire like on the weekend. But I think it can really train people's mind, and it can help build mental resilience by telling yourself you're going to do something, and then you actually follow through on that thing.
Yep.
You say, like, I'm going to have chicken, fish, and steak. That's Mr. Olympia's diet right there, chicken, fish, and steak.
Yep.
Chris Bumstead. And he has a carbohydrate with those meals, usually rice or potato. I think he has fish twice a day. He's got a protein shake thrown in there somewhere. And he's got some vegetables. What makes him so different? Like, okay, he fucking trains hard. Okay, there's genetics there. But think about how crazy this is. For the most part, he really just is like eating less than everybody else. He's like got the mental fortitude to eat less than everybody else for like a longer period of time, or eat, optimally, or however you want to say it, longer than other people. He's got, and some people will call it suffering, right? Some people will say it's suffering because he's just always a little hungry. And then and then as he gets closer and closer to competition, maybe he's hungrier and hungrier and hungrier. And as elite as all those other guys are, he kicks the shit out of all of them because he doesn't mind being hungry.
Yeah.
So what a cool habit to be able to build. And what are we really admiring? We're just admiring somebody's ability to push something away from themselves. Push away more food, push away more calories, to really sit in the pocket and to just do what you set out to do.
Sometimes you just gotta eat shit and just take it. You just have to put your nose down and eat shit.
Mm-hmm.
And whoever can do that longer is usually the most jacked and tan.
I think a lot of people with their nutrition, they don't make it very many days in a row of doing well. Just something to think about. And then you might have to redefine your diet a bit. If you have a tendency to cheat on your diet a lot, it really just depends on the person, but you might have to allow for something that's slightly off plan, and that little deviation could be just enough to give you a taste of what you're looking for without you going off the deep end. I think it's easy for people to say, oh man, I'm all or nothing. If I open up a lid, if I open up Ben & Jerry's, I throw away the top.
Yep.
It's good to know yourself. And in that case, maybe you just don't buy Ben & Jerry's anymore. Maybe when you want something sweet, maybe you have other options close by. A sweet roll from Legendary Foods, a tasty pastry, a Quest bar. The protein bars nowadays, you've seen how big the protein bar section is at like Walmart and shit like that. And have you noticed Quest Nutrition has Quest chips,
Reese's,
and peanut butter cups?
They have everything.
All this stuff, GNC isn't GNC anymore. GNC is at your grocery store because all that shit is taken over the grocery store, and the reason is there's demand for it. It's not like those things just sit on the shelf.
Yep.
Walmart and these other, and Target and so forth, they wouldn't sell it if it didn't make them money.
Yeah.
So they're selling it for a reason. These are things, in my opinion, that people can use reasonably to stay on track and to stay on their diet, even though it's not the most optimal thing. You're not going to see like an on-stage bodybuilder being like, I got up here because I eat Legendary tasty pastries.
Yeah.
Like they go super strict when it's time for them to go super strict. But other than those people, everybody else can be eating them here and there. I have something like that every single night. So my diet on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 out of 10, meaning I ate everything I'm supposed to eat and I'm super, super strict, then I would give myself a 7.5 to an 8 on almost every single day. However, because I allow for deviation, I'm actually a 10 out of 10 because I do a pretty good job of having some of those things in my diet without allowing those things to have me fucking slip on a banana peel and go down a slippery slope.
Yep, I agree with that. I think structuring it in a way that fits you is smart. Cause
You probably have a cheat once a week or something, right?
Yeah, but in powerlifting, my relationship with food was terrible. I would binge eat all the time. And I would also smoke weed, which doesn't help.
Smoke weed every day.
Yeah, but I structured it coming off of binge eating where it was still I basically had a binge day, but I structured it a little bit better where I'm like, I'm going to be on point, clean food 6 days out of the week. And on Sundays, this is a Chad Nichols approach. On Sunday, I eat whatever I want, as much as I want. And over time, I still lost weight. I still got lean. But then once I realized, okay, this probably isn't the most healthy approach, then I was like, all right, we're just going to have structured cheat meals, not a cheat day. And then I was able to do that easy.
What's funny is a cheat meal usually turns into multiple cheat meals.
Yeah.
And a cheat day will turn into multiple cheat days. So if you bargain with yourself and give yourself a cheat meal, it's probably reasonable. And it's also fine if you have pizza and ice cream in that same, it just doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's like you're trying to make a nice negotiation with yourself.
Yep.
And if you were doing well, I do think that binging is a huge problem though. So you do have to be kind of cautious of that. I have a tendency to want to do that, but now I know how to do it. I can just keep eating protein.
Yeah.
I'll have a protein shake. I'll like watch TV. I'll chill out for a little while. If I'm hungry, I'll get up and I'll eat more. If I want more, I'll eat more. I'll eat more. I'll eat more.
Yep.
It will just keep being sources of protein.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I'm overeating, but I'm not really overdoing my calories.
Yeah.
In the same way.
Yeah. And I noticed that, I might have saw it on Instagram a long time ago, but just like, I've tried different things that suppress appetite, like, caffeine, nicotine, something like that. But I feel like protein has the same effect as far as if you're like, I'm going to have ice cream tonight, and then you eat a big ass steak or a bunch of chicken before the ice cream. The ice cream doesn't taste the same. You're not going to be like obsessed with it and shove the whole thing in your mouth. You're going to take a couple bites and actually taste it and then be like, that was good, but I'm kind of done now. And that goes a long way.
It helps you control yourself a lot.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, he's getting ready.
Wyatt Films, get the phone ready. This is for anabolic activities.
He's got that compression.
Compression sleeves.
110 pounders? 120s?
120s.
Nah. Here we go.
All right, I might need some help getting them up.
You do both or you do one at a time?
Maybe back here. I'm pretty sure I can swing them up. All right, ready?
Yep. There you go. Nice, Kenny. Yep. Yep. Nice. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Woo! Oh yeah, that was something
Heavy
special.
ass weight.
MarkBellSlingshot.com.
I counted 1 rep.
Yep, so did I.
Your arms got so pumped you got trapped in there.
Oh. All right.
Crazy.
Now what should we do? One more tricep and then some pump work.
I'll do one more overhead press.
All right, guys. So that's enough anabolic activities for today. To go over it, we talked about where we place our heavy or main movement, whether you place it in the beginning or 2-3 exercises into the workout like we did today. It's all based off your goal. Yeah, so we touched on how placing the main movement from the very, very beginning, we'd probably use that more for strength training, and then placing it 2-3 exercises down into the workout, more for bodybuilding hypertrophy. We're nice and pumped and full by the time we get to the main movement. We might not be as strong, but the goal here isn't strength. It's just to get a good pump and grow the area. And I'm also, if finishing here with the same thing we started with. So we started with this, a superset with the single arm shake attachment, shake handle. We went to the shake strap, the tricep shake strap, or that might be the regular shake strap. But tricep extensions, superset with overhead extensions, superset with lateral raises. And I went back to these because it worked, it felt great. So I figured, why switch that up? If it works, don't try to change anything, just go back to it. So I double backed, and now we're finishing with these a little bit lighter. And yeah, that's about it. Just came in, got a pump, hit the main movement, and then finished with another pump. So we're just getting pumped. So drop a comment, leave a like, let us know what you think. I feel like this was a pretty good episode. So if you guys liked it, just let us know. Love you all. I think all the people giving him shit, all the bodybuilding coaches saying really, really low negative stuff, I don't agree with that. I think eventually if he wants to prep, I'm sure he'll learn probably the smartest way to get to that goal and the fastest way.
If you do want to eat whatever you want, then it's important that you track and that you pay attention. There's a lot of people that do eat whatever they want. They might not eat the amount that they want, but they can eat whatever they want.
I don't know how much is in a Krispy Kreme donut, but if they were 0 fat, I'd eat 6 of them before I work out and I'd be just fine.